Hi internet, happy Friday. I am driving on a beautiful sunny day. Hopefully my phone does not overheat. Okay, it's feeling okay for now. I do not edit my videos. I am in my car. Yeah, so you're hearing the wind. So, if you vibe, subscribe. If you don't, you don't. But I just want to talk about why I no longer follow Gary Vaynerchuk. And people like him, and kind of a revelation that I've recently had about him. So first and foremost, you need to understand why I loved Gary. I loved him because there's this story I have of myself. I have this story that I have to work 4 times as hard to just make it by. That was the story I had for myself, right? As I got older, I realized, it has a lot to do with having ADHD and depression, right? And then there's other microaggressional things to discuss as well. But a huge chunk of it is also we have this neurodivergency that makes basic living incredibly difficult, let alone striving for more. Right? And as a child and as a teen, I did not have access to mental health care. So what I would do is I would tell my parents, I would be like, can I go to Barnes & Noble? I just want to study in a different environment. So they would let me go. But what I was actually doing was I was reading self-help books and business books. I wanted to be a mogul. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be famous. I thought this is how life could be worth living. I would have enough money to do what I want, be with who I want to be with. That's what I thought. So I was a kid. Do not call me while I'm recording. I was a kid who felt like I was putting so much effort into everything to only get so much. And not only did I wanted to not just get by, I wanted to be like extraordinarily successful in the top 0.001%, whatever. And self-help books helped me feel like there was hope. So I was really into them. Honestly, I'm still kind of into them, but I feel like now I have a much healthier relationship with them because back then I was obsessed. And as I got older, I was spending a lot of money on this stuff. And if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, instead of spending money on the self-help stuff, which is great stuff, but you need to spend way more time on finding a good therapist, finding a psychiatrist you trust, journaling, keep track of what's working, what's not working. This is what I wish I spent more time on, because actually taking care of my mental health changed my life more than a lot of the self-help and business stuff. Okay. So I digress. I was really into this stuff. I thought this was my hope. This was my escape out of a miserable existence into something worth living. And then I found Gary Vaynerchuk. I loved him. I loved his honesty, his bluntness, his directness. And that's what I really was craving, because during that time, it was a lot of feel-good inspiration, right? Trust the universe. What's meant for you will come. that kind of stuff. And I wanted more grit. I wanted more, give it to me straight. Tell it to me like it is. I want to know the truth. And Gary was providing that. I'm assuming you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk's work. But if you're not, his work has changed subtly over the years, right? And at first, his work, all of his stuff, he was really trying to just promote himself, right? So he's posting on YouTube and Instagram and short form content and live streams, and he was doing it all. Okay. And he would always say, you need to hustle. You cannot rest. You cannot relax. You need to be working. You're awake for 20 hours a day, and you need to be working for 19 of those hours. Okay. Why are you sleeping? Like that kind of hustle mentality. And for me, it was so validating at that time, because remember, I felt like I have to work so much harder than everybody else. So when I'm hearing a successful person say, yeah, you have to work in an insane way, it made me feel validated, because it made me feel like, see, I'm not the only one. Here's a successful person who also had to work insanely hard to make it, just like I have to. I was aware that there are people who don't have to work hard. And I was aware that there are people who work like regular. Like they don't work like insanely hard. They work like a regular healthy amount of work, and they achieve success. And I felt like that's not me. The universe does not have that for me. I don't get to do that. I don't get to be that. So I'm not going to listen to you woo-woo people anymore who are just like, just trust that the universe is bringing it your way. I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm going to listen to these hustle culture guys. Well, what ended up happening is, especially because I was not treating my ADHD and depression very well, I got burnt out. And I would have this roller coaster where, okay, I'm ready to go balls to the wall, and then tank, and then up and down, up and down, up and down. And eventually, after years of that up and down, I've come to a point where I'm like, no more. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's where I'm at right now. Actually, what's funny is somebody from this company I used to work with called me. I didn't answer because I am not interested in hustling anymore. Like, I'm not interested unless it's something that is just fun. Something I actually truly enjoy is just for fun. I would love for there to be success, but if there's not, I'm just glad that I did it. Unless it's a project like that, I am not hustling for success anymore, right? I mean, never say never, right? I might come to a place where I'm like, you know what? I'm bored. I kind of do want to hustle. But let it be that. Let it be a feeling of, you know what, I want to. Not a feeling of, that's what I think I have to do. So I'm sorry, if you're that person who called me and you're watching this, I'm sorry I ignored your phone call, but I really just can't. And I do not want any more people soliciting me to do any type of sales or business with them unless we're doing it on YouTube. Okay, because I really like YouTube. I really love YouTube. But if you if you just remember that I was great at sales at this company or when I worked over here, if you just like that, you know, oh, Yudi had that personality and she was such a great public speaker, and if you have any of that in your mind, just erase it. Just erase it, okay? Because I'm done with that. I'm all hustle cultured out. I'm pooped. So around that time, Gary was changing his message. He was changing it to, you're hustling so hard because you love it. You love work. You love it. You're following your passion. He changed it to that thing, which I also resent, because now I'm going to start hustling in my passion, which involves, one, doing things that you're actually not passionate about. Okay, like if you are passionate about your art and you want to hustle, you need to market yourself. But maybe you really don't like marketing, but you have to, right? Because it's not enough to just work really hard on being a great artist. Like, people need to see the art, right? You need to promote the art. Well, if you hate promoting, then, you know. So anyway, what that whole, you know, hustle hard, but in what you're passionate about, that mindset, what that did to me was it made me resent my passions. Things that I used to love, I resented. Right? I was trying to hustle with YouTube at a certain point, and then it got to the point where it's like, I can't make a YouTube video. I can't do it. You know, there was a time I loved dance, and then it got to the point where it's like, I can't. I used to love making websites. Can't. Every time I try to hustle with my passion, it ruins my passion. So now I have one less hobby. And like that contributes to depression, right? One of the symptoms of depression is a lack of interest in something that you used to really enjoy. Right. Thank you for exacerbating my depression. That's what it did for me. That's what it did for me. Because pretty soon you run out of hobbies, and now you have no more hobbies. That's why my hobby is now watching Netflix. And I was like, I'm not going to turn this into a hustle. I am not going to like make a YouTube channel to review movies and stuff. I'm not turning it into a hustle. This hobby I will protect. It will remain merely a hobby. And then he started changing his message again. Started changing it to, you know, this is not for everyone. Like, if you are not feeling the internal drive and enjoyment from working, then, you know, I'm not really talking to you. That's what he started changing his message to. And I was like, you know what? I can respect that. I can respect that you have received feedback and you're adjusting your message. But for me, it's like too little too late, and I'm no longer interested. The number one thing that I did learn from Gary Vaynerchuk that I do appreciate and I still carry with me to this day was he used to have, and maybe he still does, have this message of self-awareness. Making decisions based on self-awareness. And I think that is so key and so critical, right? Because you could be doing something and, you know, you're working really hard, but you're just not feeling it. And it's not like, oh, I'm just in a bad mood today, or, oh, I never finish what I start. It's something that you genuinely are not feeling it. You genuinely feel like you're not connecting to the market. You genuinely feel like your time is better spent doing something else. You're better at something else. Having the self-awareness to be like, I need to quit. That type of thing. If Gary Vaynerchuk's message was more on that self-awareness tidbit, I would probably still be listening to him. I would still be applauding him, praising him, probably. But it's not. He wanted to focus on hustle culture because Sigma grind set never goes out of style, right? Like, my generation, it was the girl boss and hustle culture. I know, like, these days, what they're calling it, that girl or the Sigma grind set, whatever. That work hard never goes out of style. I could go on and on about work hard, right? Like, maybe I will. Maybe I don't edit my videos, but maybe my first video will be an analysis of why everybody was so mad when Kim Kardashian said, get off your ass and work hard. But anyway. Okay. Is this gonna start? Okay. But anyway, that was the main thing I got from him. Now, I've recently come to a realization that has made me rethink the motivational content I consume. Because I still like this kind of stuff to an extent. But now I'm like, I really need to think about it. There were a few things that made me come to a certain realization about Gary Vee. Revisiting some of his unhinged comments. Like when he told that one girl to fantasize about her family being brutally unalived and getting blasted in their faces. We understand that he's trying to elicit a feeling of immense gratitude for your current life, but it's a little unhinged. And then also there was an interview he did. I was watching this interview of him with Marie Forleo. I don't really watch interviews anymore. The exception would be The School of Greatness with Lewis Howes. I actually really like him. I really like his interview show because he is so attentive to his guests. He's so cognizant of making sure that his questions are understood and they're coming across to both the guests and the audience. And then he actually shuts up and listens. He actually appears to give a damn about who he's talking to. And he just seems like a genuine person. So I actually am still subscribed to his podcast, his interview stuff. And I actually listen to it. I really like him. I think you're doing a great job, Lewis Howes. If you ever see this, which you probably never will. But yeah, there was this time period where every rich, like middle-aged adult influencer was like, they needed to do interviews on YouTube. And Gary Vee, I guess Gary Vee is still doing the interviews, but I was watching the one with Marie Forleo. And I was like, there's something wrong with Gary Vaynerchuk. There's something wrong with him. And when I say that, I mean that in a way that's like, there's something wrong with you that's affecting your personal life, in my opinion, in my assumption, in my senses. Right? Like, I'm not just saying, oh, there's something wrong with him because he told that girl to imagine her family being unalived. What I mean is, the thing that people applaud him for, hard work, promoting hard work, that actually just might be a sign and symptom of a deeper problem that we don't really get to see because he's not going to record that and post it. For example, Will Smith in the slap, right? The more I dug into it, the more I realized Will Smith has a problem And all the years that I've been watching him talk about work hard, the difference between me and my opponent is that I will not stop until I die. I am going to outwork my opponent until I win or it kills me. And I used to derive inspiration from that. I used to derive inspiration from Gary Vee saying, do not have a life. You need to spend your 20s working to the bone. I used to derive inspiration from that. And what I'm coming to realize, and I apologize if I'm not effectively communicating how I'm now seeing that. If you know, you know. If you don't, there are well-edited videos about Gary Vaynerchuk you can go watch, and they might explain it better to you. But what I'm realizing now is that intense work ethic is indicative of a problem that affects your personal life. You're not going to see it in an interview. You're not going to record their fights with their loved ones. And right, I only just recently kind of saw it when I watched Gary Vaynerchuk interview Marie Forleo and appear as if he did not care about anything she said, and came off as if he really just wished he was interviewing himself. And that really struck me, because I find Marie Forleo to be a very interesting woman and a very well-spoken woman, right? I mean, I used to be very obsessed, by the way. Now I'm like, okay, I did not need to go to B school that bad. B school, like, ew, way overpriced. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Right. But I still think Marie is a great speaker. And I think she's the kind of person that if you interviewed her, you would enjoy hearing her take on things and listening and learning about her. So I just found it so wild. I was like, Gary, you have this very interesting and successful woman sitting in front of you, and you literally sound like you wish that she would shut up. Like, what is wrong? What that made me realize, is this how he is in his personal relationships? And then I read Will Smith's biography, and Will Smith has been coming to a realization and understanding that his addiction to work was the manifestation of a deeper problem. And I feel like maybe that's what it is for Gary. And I just started thinking about even people I knew in my personal life who say the same thing of, why are you sleeping? Don't sleep. I even thought about those people. And then I even thought about myself, because I was addicted to work, because I was running away from other issues. I didn't want to do anything. If I'm not working, unless you're talking to me about work, don't talk to me. I used to really be like that. And then I realized I've been promoting a really toxic, unhealthy way of being in my life. I've been promoting, by watching Gary Vee's content and just consuming it and soaking it in and identifying so strongly with it, I have actually been contributing to my depression. I have been contributing to my anxiety. I have actually been making my life worse. When this whole time I thought listening to this hustle culture advice would make my life better. This whole time I thought I was doing something good. This whole time I thought I was setting myself ahead of the pack. And that's something I just recently realized, that I've actually been doing myself a disservice. And when I made that realization, you know, not that I was watching Gary recently, but I was still, you know, he would come across my feed and every now and then I would double tap. But now that I understand what I understand, it feels like I don't need to subscribe to this anymore. I don't need, I'm gonna unsubscribe. This doesn't move me anymore like it used to. It used to really move me. It really used to. Not anymore. And now I feel like I have a better context for that information. So because I do think, you know, I feel like there's somebody who's in a place in their life where maybe that's the message that they need to hear. But at least for me, I have a context that I feel like I don't have to be unhealthily obsessed with this anymore. I can take what makes sense and leave behind what doesn't. And actually, I don't have any interest in really going out of my way to listen to this content anyway. So that's where I'm at now. And if you're wondering, because every now and then people ask me, oh, are you still hustling, or how are things now, or whatever. So I'm done with hustling, at least for now. I am very focused on my mental health and just making sure I feel, my priority in life is like living, like feeling like I'm living. That's something I don't know how, I can't explain in a tangible way, but that's my number one priority. And then I've also figured out how I can actually have the type of income that I have been hustling all these years to make without having to hustle. I mean, obviously you have to put in some work, but you have to do something, but nowhere near what I used to think I had to do. Not even close. Not even close. And that has this new mind frame that I'm living in now, and I've been living it this way for like the past year. It makes me feel like I have a new life. It makes me feel like I'm a new person. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels so different. It feels so different. Like I can enjoy life and go spend time with loved ones guilt-free without thinking I should be hustling right now. I should be working, you know, while I'm here, I might as well network. I might as well get a few phone numbers and network and see who I can meet, who can I connect with, who can I text right now. Oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. So that's my story. That's why I don't listen to Gary Vaynerchuk anymore. And I'm sure there's other pet peeves Like, for example, I really am irritated with how he spins his origin story. You know, I'm an immigrant to this country as well, and I'm the child of immigrants. I'm the child of immigrants who came from, who didn't have much, right? And in no way do I feel compelled to pass off their inspirational story as my own. I am, and I spotted a mile away because I am one, right? I am that story of the child of an immigrant who came here with however much money in their pocket. Okay. I am really, that person was like, nah. Anyway, I am really sick of people whose parents have an inspirational story and you try to infuse it into your story to give yourself more cred. And that's what Gary Vaynerchuk does. I haven't watched him recently. Maybe he stopped doing that. But when he was first trying to be this media person, he would do that all the time. And it's very annoying. You know, like, it makes it feel like you're trying to, especially because he's like a dude and a white guy in the United States of America, it makes it sound like you're just trying to you're trying to put as much disadvantage into your story as possible, when actually you don't need to do that. You really don't need to do that. Like, you do not need to tell us about your dad coming from where he came from and he was so poor, and then he just had this little business, and then he made you work there, you know, probably violating child labor laws. He made you work there, but then you turned it into a multi-million business. That sounds very inspirational, but actually your dad already had the business running in multi-millions. Okay? You added a zero at the end of that. You took it to another level. You did not need to do all this song and dance. Like, obviously you can talk about your father, obviously, but you don't need to like exclude the part where your dad actually became a success on his own and he's passed that down onto you. You don't need to exclude that part. Dang. You don't need to exclude that part. It would be more impressive if you said that. It would be more impressive if you loved on your dad, celebrated your dad, shared, you know what my dad did? He did, and I had the privilege of taking it to the next level. Taking a company from 4 million to 60 million is impressive in and of itself. You do not need to do the child of an immigrant tap dance. I guess that's what I'm calling it. It really irks me. And every time I call it out every time I see it, because it really irks me. And I have no qualms about calling it out, because I'm like, I have the same story. Stop. Stop. Because sometimes it really feels like they're trying to pass it off like you also grew up poor. You didn't grow up poor. Your dad grew up poor. You didn't. Your dad raised you as an upper middle class guy. Okay? That's the other thing. And what's so weird, right? Like, if Gary Vaynerchuk was back in the home country, he would not be downplaying that. If he was back in the home country, he would be bragging about, look what my dad raised me upper middle class. You would be bragging about that stuff, because we value that. In other countries, it's highly valued. It's highly valuable that the parents achieve a level of success, and then the child goes to another level. Anyway, I could go on and on, but that's a huge pet peeve of mine. It's been a pet peeve of mine for a while about Gary Vee. But I was like, whatever. He's a salesman. He's got to make himself sound somehow. But now I'm just like, actually, you didn't need to do that. Actually, how the story actually is it's impressive, right? You don't need to hide that your dad gave you $1,000 to start your baseball card collection so you can start buying and selling baseball cards. You don't need to hide that, right? Like, that is cool. Like, with $1,000, is it more inspirational to make it sound like I just hustled my way into baseball cards? Yeah, because it makes it sound like anybody can do it. But it is more truthful to just include what privilege did you have that helped you do that. It's fine to say, my dad gave me $1,000. So with $1,000, look at what I did. Why can't you say that? So now other people can know, okay, so $1,000 back then is kind of like $2,000 now. So with $2,000, this is what you could do. But I don't have $2,000. What if I start with 500? People can actually use their brains and think, and use your story to figure out, how does that help me with my story? You know what I mean? Why don't you do that? That's a big pet peeve of mine when it comes to the self-help and business people. Like, that alone, that storytelling, that thing alone is a pet peeve of mine. And I understand if you're trying to make a little snippet, a little elevator pitch, to pull in the audience. I get it. But like, once you're on the stage, once you have the platform, you can like share more. So people can be inspired and also be able to apply practicality to it. So when they go home, they can take real action. And not just feel good, but feel good and also feel like, if so-and-so was able to do it with ABC, maybe I can too. With a little bit of practicality. And that would make this whole space a little bit more healthy. Because I like self-help. I think there's great tips and stuff in it. But there's just some things that these people do that I'm like, why? Why did you have to take something that could have been wholesome and you're making it something to be suspicious of? That's my rant, okay? That's my rant. If you feel the same way, let me know in the comments. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. And if you feel like you have nothing to say, but you want to let us know that you watched to the end, then leave a paw print emoji. I appreciate you, because I've been talking for 40 minutes. I really thought I could get this in like 20. This is where the fire truck came to. Oh, I hope they're okay. Remember the fire truck that came by? We just saw it. I'm gonna go home and get back to, there's a new development. Y'all know I cannot pass up going through a new neighborhood development. I cannot pass it up. So I'm going to check out this new neighborhood. And now, okay, another thing. I love looking at, like every time I see houses being built, I have to come. I have to see. And then somebody was like, oh, so you're really passionate about homes? Like, maybe you should be a realtor. No more. I am no more hustling in stuff I kind of like. This is a hobby. I just like to see beautiful new homes. I just like it. No, I don't want to be a realtor. I'm So done. I don't want to be a realtor and do sales and hustle and network and this and that and hold events. I'm done with that. Whew. Okay. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace out.